Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Amanda Howard, and I am going to be reviewing the SWOT analysis tool with you. My company is Philips Healthcare. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. And I'm going to put this in the present mode here so that we can get started. Okay, I think we're all set. So as I said, I'm Amanda Howard. I am reviewing the SWOT tool, and my company is Philips Healthcare. Today, what we're going to go over is just a very brief overview of the company as a whole, the industry that I chose to review, which is radiology equipment, but some of these things you'll just see that it's more of like the healthcare industry. There's just a couple select things that I've reviewed that might be specific to radiology. The SWOT analysis, we're going to talk about what it is and how it can be used. Essentially, it's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And then we'll finish off with some key takeaways and some closing statements. Philips overview as a company as a whole. So our mission and vision at Philips, we are striving to make the world healthier and more sustainable through innovation with the goal of improving lives of 3 billion people a year by 2030. So this is a lofty goal, but it's super achievable. A couple of years ago, we had a goal of reaching 2 billion by 2020. And so we've met that goal. And so we've stretched out a little further. And how we do that is with our multiple segments. And so Philips Healthcare is a brand that has a lot of different segments and aspects to it. And some of them are like the mom and baby line. We have a personal health line. So that might be like your shavers. I know people have heard of like Norelco or the Philips Sonicare toothbrushes. We have a lot of those kinds of things. In the hospitals, we have patient monitoring. We have respiratory care. And there's a huge imaging segment. So there's a lot that comprises of Philips Healthcare and our goal to meet that 3 billion people. Healthcare is just one of the segment of the entire Philips brand. There's many other segments. Some of these include lighting. They have an automotive wing. There's an electronics wing, so they make TVs and stuff like that, and home appliances. Looking at radiology though, if we kind of narrow this down just a bit more, radiology kind of encompasses CT, which is CAT scan, computed tomography, sorry about that, MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging, mammography, nuclear medicine, positron emission tomography, which is PET, and ultrasound. And there's some other aspects of this too, but those are the main key points. Approximately 3.6 billion X-ray procedures are performed globally every year. So it's a very large industry, and where you're going to see, radiology departments, I think hospitals most definitely, clinics or urgent cares, even your zoos and industrial purposes. There's a lot of industrial uses for radiology, and so yeah, radiology is just a very large field, very large industry. When we talk about our strengths in a SWOT analysis, some questions you might want to ask yourself are, what do you do well, or your company? What unique resources can you draw from? And what do others see as your strengths? And so when I was going over Philips Healthcare, or in some regards the radiology industry, what are some of our strengths as a company? And we have very strong brand recognition. That is one of the key things. It's very strong brand recognition. We are a top leader in healthcare technology. Actually, we're in the top 10 of all healthcare companies. We are an industry leader in sustainability, and actually we're number 2, not just in healthcare companies, but in all companies. There was 2,000 global companies that made this Forbes list, and we came in at number 2 for sustainability. So that is one of our strengths for sure. We have a large product catalog to meet the needs of varying size facilities and different budgets. And because we are a global company, that is one of our strengths. So that if you have a hospital that has it's like a research hospital and they have a lot of money, they might be buying a piece of equipment that is $2 million, whereas, a little clinic in a third world country might only be able to afford a piece of equipment that's $100,000. And so we have a wide range of selection of products for various needs. We have a very loyal customer base. One of the top brands that's used in government contracts is Philips, so that's a great strength of ours. Finally, it's a great place to work. We have a very loyal and engaged workforce. Weaknesses, these obviously are things that you want to improve upon. And so some questions you might want to ask yourself when you're coming up with your weaknesses are, what can you improve? Where do you feel that you have fewer resources than others? Or what are others likely to see as a weakness? And so those are some ideas to get you started on coming up with your weaknesses. For Philips, we do have a lot of products, and one of those weaknesses is not having enough engineers or people to fix the equipment in a timely manner. And so sometimes those things become a weakness for us. Our global distribution is less than the top competitors. So our top competitors are GE and Siemens in global distribution. Philips is only in 100 countries, and these other two are in 200 plus countries. In hospitals, when I traveled as an application specialist for 5 years, one of the common themes was that the doctors had a hard time getting their message out to people and had a hard time relaying best practices with other institutions. And so what they found would work, sometimes it's like recreating the wheel over and over every hospital I went to. And so that is a weakness of Philips, is just collaborating with all of our institutions as one entity, if that makes sense. And another weakness I found is that our LinkedIn presence for social media is far less than GE and Siemens. So for our opportunities, coming up with opportunities in the SWOT analysis, some questions you might want to ask yourself are, what opportunities are open? What trends can you take advantage of? And how can you turn your strengths into opportunities? And so when I looked at Philips and I tried to come up with opportunities, there are opportunities for further development of low cost and early prevention screening solutions, such as, cancer screening products and heart disease procedures. We have opportunities for virtual reality. So AI, artificial intelligence, is very big right now, but we're moving into virtual reality. And so this can help improve patient education, and it can also improve physicians' experiential training. So if they have, a tough surgery they want to simulate, they can do that through virtual reality. So that's really cool. We can provide more access to remote product training instead of face-to-face applications. So I think that's a huge opportunity right now, especially given COVID and the situation where not a lot of people are allowed to travel for work anymore. And so the hospitals are being burdened and they're using extra staff, and they need training. All these extra staff that they're bringing on need training. And so I think Philips has a huge opportunity to provide more remote-based training instead of that face-to-face applications like we've done in the past. Another opportunity is just to further develop the idea that physicians can collaborate on a platform, and so they can bring best practices from institution to institution instead of recreating the wheel each and every time a brand new equipment goes into a hospital. Another opportunity I came up with was that we could utilize our engaged workforce to further our brand recognition on LinkedIn. I think that's a low-hanging fruit that we can kind of use there. So threats is the final part of the SWOT analysis, and some things you might want to ask yourself when you're coming up with your threats. What can harm you, as a company? What are things that could come against you? What is your competition doing? What threats do your weaknesses expose to you? So those are some just ideas to kind of get you started thinking about the threats when you're making your SWOT analysis. For Philips, some of our threats, the CMS and Medicare reimbursements, they're always changing. And so that changes the needs of our customers. And so we always have to keep that in mind. Healthcare costs are always rising. The cost for patient care, for the patient's expense and the hospital's expense. So those are things we have to keep in mind. COVID has impacted everything. I think that just goes without saying. And so Philips is not immune to that. It has affected our supply chain. It potentially can affect our financial stability. It can affect our workforce. We have thousands of field engineers that go out to the field and fix these machines when they break. And so just in general, I think COVID can affect Philips in many, many ways. Technology advancements by other leading healthcare companies like GE and Siemens. So because they are our two competitors, we always have to keep a lookout for what our competition is doing. Another big thing, I know that you guys have probably heard in the news over the last couple of years, the war on trade with China. That's a big thing for us because we have a manufacturer in China. So we always have to keep an eye on the tariffs and the costs that come with that, because it trickles down. And so if our costs go up, then our costs go up for our customers. And so we have to keep those things in mind as well. So some key takeaways and things that I learned through this project. It's a great tool. It absolutely is a fantastic tool to learn your strengths, to find out what you do well and what you can continue to build on and continue to do well. It allows you to find weak spots and potential areas for risk. The SWOT opens your eyes to some possibilities, maybe some unforeseen opportunities. I was actually surprised by the amount of opportunities that I could come up with for Philips, so that was pretty cool. I also found that the SWOT is unique and it's flexible, so that you could do this at like a high level if you just want to do like an overview of the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of a company, like as a high level. But I also thought that there would be great value if companies, managers would narrow in on their specific departments and maybe use this as like a yearly goal building tool to see what things that department individually could do better. One thing I did find was that this tool was easier to do once I had already completed some of the other tools that we have practiced. And so gathering all my information from those other tools, this tool here was a little easier to get together. I did have a difficulty finding some information. A lot of it was either third-party reviews from, basic technology companies that were just kind of like giving their 2 cents on the company and comparing us to, comparing Philips to, say, GE or Siemens. And so it was a lot of those types of reviews that I found, and it was difficult to find concrete, hard evidence. I visited each of the sites of the competitors and mine to try to get as much as I could. But what I kept finding over and over was that there was like these larger market research firms, and they were charging an arm and a leg for information. And so that was the only difficult part that I really found in finding information. So I look forward to any questions you guys have for me, and I am looking forward to engaging with you on this and in your guys' tools as well. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.